Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So listen, I'm going live in 3 places this morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I am going live in 3 places this morning. In the middle right here is my YouTube peeps. Over here is my TikTok peeps. And over here is my Instagram peeps. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I figured I have a little bit of time this morning. There's 2 news stories that I want to talk about this morning. Alexa, stop. There's 2 news stories that I want to talk about this morning. So y'all come on in the room and y'all grab a seat and we gonna chat this morning. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, good morning. So again, YouTube is here, TikTok is here, and Instagram is here. I figured I'm gonna knock out 3 stones this morning. No, I go 2 birds with 1 stone, 3 birds with 1 stone. And the major news story that I want to talk about is, well, Sean Hannity had a segment of Sean Hannity's show last night because he's lying. And I came across it this morning and I said, no, I need to add my voice to what is going on and what he is saying. So, good morning. You got your coffee. Good morning. Good morning. Lala CC, I see you over on YouTube. Bougie Barbie, I see you on YouTube. Romel, Worried Mama. Hey, Lachey. Rosalia, good morning. Gloria Scott. Over here to my left, I see Squishy Gemini. I see Let the Wookie Win. I see Stephanie, who's also a sub over here on TikTok. Good morning. Over here to my right on Instagram, I see Crisscross. I see Jerry King. I see Sharon Campbell. Good morning, everybody. I see M Washington. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Listen, I got a little. I'm thinking on this over here on TikTok. TikTok has now given us the capability to do lives, subscriber only lives, which allows us to weed out a lot of the trolls that we get. And I'm thinking about doing that. So if you aren't sub, please do your girl a solid and sub to her so we can have these conversations without being aggravated by the trolls. Show enough, Leo, I see you. Miss Zalia, I see you. Hopefully Instagram will come. I don't get a lot of trolls over on Instagram. Hey, El Teddy, good morning. I don't know why you spell my name like that. I think that's a typo. I think that's a typo. Hey, from the Bronx. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time. I don't want to hold y'all for too long. So let's get into it. Before we get too deep into it, I want to remind all of you guys. I want to remind all of you that here in Georgia, early voting ends tomorrow. I don't know about other states, but here it's a typo. Here in Georgia, early voting ends tomorrow. So you got today and tomorrow to get in your early vote. Next opportunity will be on November 8th, and the lines are going to be up the wazoo. So if you can, get out there and put in your vote early. Today and tomorrow, you have, I believe the stations close down at 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock tomorrow is when early voting ends. Vote blue, please. Good morning, Muffin Joy. Thank you for the gift over on TikTok. Good morning, Muffin Joy. I see you. Okay, so with that out of the way, we're gonna first talk about this clip that I saw over. Oh, hold on. That I saw over on Twitter early this morning, and it is of Sean Hannity. Let me pull it up. Go back. Sean Hannity. Here it is. Why are you not playing? Hold on, y'all. Y'all know your girl and her technical difficulties in trying to figure stuff out. Now, this is a video. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let me bring over the speaker.
Now in this last-ditch effort, well, let's lie to senior citizens and scare them to death with lies about Republicans. They want to take away your Social Security and Medicare and cut it. Okay, not a single Republican has ever said it. No Republican supports it.
Not a single Republican has ever said it. Not a single Republican supports it. I'm going to rewind it. And let me turn the volume up a little bit. This is what Sean Hannity said last night on his show, and this was after Joe Biden's speech. I didn't watch the speech. I don't need to watch the speech. I don't need to watch the speech. But this is Sean Hannity in response to that speech, because Joe Biden mentioned that Republicans are trying to cut Social Security benefits.
Now in this last-ditch effort, well, let's lie to senior citizens and scare them to death with lies about Republicans. They want to take away your Social Security and Medicare and cut it. Okay, not a single Republican has ever said it. No Republican supports it.
Not a single Republican has ever said it, and not a single Republican supports it. Here's Senator Mike Lee, and here's what he had to say.
It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots and get rid of it.
What did he just say, y'all? What did Senator Mike Lee just say? He's a Republican. What did Senator Mike Lee just say? What did y'all just hear? Good morning, Pumpkin. Anybody? Can anybody tell me what Republican Senator Mike Lee just said? Okay, thank you, Show Enough. Thank you. Anybody over here in Instagram heard what Senator Mike Lee just said? Worried Mama just said phase out Social Security. It don't stop there, honey. It don't stop there. That's Senator Mike Lee. Here comes Queen Ladybugs.
Entitlements are going to consume the budget. Right now, we're at 2050, we're going to have 185% of debt to GDP. Medicare and Social Security and other entitlement programs are worth saving are going to consume the debt. We're down to a small fraction of the federal pie to run the discretionary part of government. So entitlement reform is a must for us to not become greased.
Now, listen, Lindsey Graham is a little bit more experienced in choosing his words carefully. First of all, he called Social Security and Medicare entitlements. They are not entitlements. You pay into these programs. They are not entitlements. They are not entitlements. You pay into these programs. Let me play what he said again.
Entitlements are going to consume the budget. Right now, we're at 2050, we're going to have 185% of debt to GDP. Medicare and Social Security and other entitlement programs are worth saving are going to consume the debt. We're down to a small fraction of the federal pie to run the discretionary part of government. So entitlement reform is a must for us to not become greedy. Entitlements are going.
Entitlement reform, what do you all think that means? If he's calling Social Security and Medicare entitlement programs, which they are not, and he's talking about reforming entitlement programs, what do you all think that means? When I tell you Senator Lindsey Graham is a little slippery snake weasel, he's more experienced and he's choosing his words carefully. Reforming means to reshape. Reforming means to go back and revamp and find different ways of doing things. That's Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator Ron Johnson.
Yeah, so the defense spending has always been discretionary. The VA spending is discretionary. What's mandatory are things like Social Security and Medicare. If you qualify for the entitlement, you just get it no matter what the cost. And our problem in this country is that more than 70% of our federal budget, of our federal spending, is all mandatory spending. It's on automatic pilot. It never, you just don't do proper oversight. You don't get in there and fix the programs going bankrupt. It's just on automatic pilot. What we ought to be doing is we ought to turn everything into discretionary spending so it's all evaluated so that we can't fix problems or fix programs that are broken. They're going to be going bankrupt. But because, again, as long as things are on automatic pilot, we just continue to pile up debt. It's mortgage our kids' future. It's this massive debt burden.
Okay. Listen, Senator Ron Johnson has been getting a boat ton of backlash because he's using his words carefully and he wants to call it discretionary and it should be up for review every year. What do you think Republicans gonna do? If it's up for review every year, what have the Republicans been doing? They've been, anything that they don't want to deal with, they've been pushing it off to the side. It's been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, waiting for review. And he too called it an entitlement program. It's not an entitlement program. You pay into it. Every time you get a paycheck, they're taking a deduction for it. That's Senator Ron Johnson. This is Rick Scott being hammered on Fox News. He didn't get to say anything, but I was impressed with this news anchor. I don't know his name, but here, let's listen to this.
You recently put out an 11-point plan to rescue America. Two of the big points of which are, quote, all Americans should pay some income tax to have skin in the game, even if a small amount. Currently, over half of Americans pay no income tax. It also says all federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. So that would raise taxes on half of Americans and potentially sunset programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Why would you propose something like that in an election year?
Sure. Well, John, that's, of course, the Democrat talking points. It's a
it's in the plan. It's in the plan.
Here's let's think about reality for a second. First off, let's talk about Medicare.
But Senator, hang on.
John.
So it's not a Democratic talking point. It's in the plan.
It's in the plan. If you follow me on Tabitha Speaks Politics, that's my YouTube channel, I went step by step using Rick Scott's plan and what they proposed for America. Head on over. Please head on over. I put a lot of work into that video. Step by step, I went and broke down each part of the plan. And it's in the plan. It's in the plan. It pisses me off, number one, that they are calling it an entitlement. They aren't giving this to us. We paid into it as taxpayers. You go to work every day, and before you get your cut, the government is taking their portion out for Social Security and Medicaid. You don't have a choice to opt in or out. They automatically get that cut from your paycheck every time you get paid. And now they are trying to view it as an entitlement? No, it's not. You work hard for that. You work hard for it. You're deserving of it. Somebody said over here on TikTok, well, I've been paying into this for 43 years. Where the hell is my 43-year refund? Listen, if they talk about taking away Social Security, they need to be talking about how they're going to refund all of us who have paid into it. Agreed? Hey, Amir. Agreed? And then don't let them tell you who tried to do it. I forget who tried to do it. I think it was in Ron Johnson's audio where he tried to say that it adds to the national debt. It does not add to the national debt. Social Security and Medicare stands on its own. It does not add to the national debt. I believe there's a law in adding anything Social Security, Medicare related into the debt. It stands on its own. So don't even let them try to tell you this is adding to the national debt and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren are going to be paying for it. That is a lie. My peeps on YouTube said, run me my money. My peeps on TikTok say, with interest. Give me my money with interest. Baby, we can all retire. So I needed to get that out of the way. I needed to add my voice, and I needed to shut down the bullshit that Sean Hannity is putting out there, because he's trending, and this clip is trending. But I also want he's saying that no Republican has ever said that, discussed that, or whatever. That is a lie. And I needed to scour the internet to pull all of these different audios that I've seen over the past year of them talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. And one of the plans is to increase the retirement age. They're going to cut the benefit and increase the retirement age to 70. Baby, I can barely make it into that office now. And you're trying to tell me that I got to push it another 25, 30 years? Listen, Instagram, I don't know if Instagram still has that time limit. It used to be a time limit, 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something like that, and then it would cut off. If it cuts off, meet me over here on Tabitha Speaks Politics on YouTube. I want to talk about these two news stories. Well, I already talked about one. I want to share. There's this talk of the town over on Twitter about this ad by America First. This America First project or whatever that's owned by Stephen Miller. You guys remember Stephen Miller? He was the one that put together the separating the parents from the children at the border underneath Trump. Y'all know, the racist, the weird looking guy. This ad is on rotation here in Georgia. El Teddy, you still in the chat? You seen this ad? I'm gonna play the audio for you. It's despicable. It's flat out racist, and it's a lie.
When did racism against white people become okay? Joe Biden put white people last in line for COVID relief funds. Kamala Harris said disaster aid should go to non-white citizens first. Liberal politicians block access to medicine based on skin color. Progressive corporations, airlines, universities all openly discriminate against white Americans. Racism is always wrong. The left's anti-white bigotry must stop. We are all entitled to equal treatment under law. America First Legal paid for this.
This is the reverse racism concept. This is the reverse racism concept. And it's a lie. El Teddy, you still in the chat? El Teddy's gone. Let me play it again. I don't think you all understand the gravity of this bullshit. Let me play it again.
When did racism against white people become okay? Joe Biden put white people last in line for COVID relief funds. Kamala Harris said disaster aid should go to non-white citizens first. Liberal politicians block access to medicine based on skin color. Progressive corporations, airlines, universities all openly discriminate against white Americans. Racism is always wrong. The left's anti-white bigotry must stop. We are all entitled to equal treatment under law. America First Legal paid for this.
America First Legal. That is an organization owned by Stephen Miller. And that alone, if you know who Stephen Miller is, then you understand where this racist bullshit and lies is coming from. This is not a joke. This is on rotation here in Atlanta. This is an actual campaign ad. And I don't understand why networks are playing this bullshit. Going to stir up hate crimes? Lisa, honey, have you not been paying attention? Hate crimes are up all across the country. Why are networks even playing this hate-filled bullshit? I saw a blog post by a contributor over on Rachel Maddow's blog about this GOP plan to cut Social Security. He dug a little bit deeper and brought some things to light. Democrats have spent much of the year warning voters that Republicans will seek cuts to Social Security and Medicare if put in power, and an amazing number of GOP officials and candidates have bolstered the claims. We just went through them all. That's just some of them. These are the ones that I could easily find. What's new this week, however, is Republicans signaling how they intend to pursue their goal. It was 2 weeks ago when President Joe Biden warned the public that Social Security and Medicare would end up on the chopping block if Republicans have their way, and the rhetoric hardly seemed outlandish. In recent months, there's been no shortage of prominent GOP voices, from Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson to New Hampshire's Don Bolduc to Representative Buddy Carter of Georgia, who bolstered Biden's claims. They all came out last night to basically say what Joe Biden said in his speech was a lie. No Republicans are talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. I want you to think about it. My mom is 77 years old. She's barely getting by with what she gets from Social Security and Medicare. There are times where I have to send my mother money so that she can get her medications. And they're talking about cutting the benefits and increasing the retirement age. But for many voters, the warnings may not seem overly alarming. After all, there's a Democratic White House. And I think that's what a lot of people are finding safety in. And they aren't really up in arms about it, right? And I'm like, when are you going to wake up, people? They're talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. I see what my mom goes through. I see it. I see it. It's not enough now. Where was I? And I think people find safety in the fact that it will never happen because we have a Democratic president who has come out on record stating that if the Republicans attempt to do it, they will veto it. But this blog post is telling you don't find safety in the fact that this, a Democratic president would veto it because Republicans are finding a way around Joe Biden's veto. After all, there's a Democratic White House. Even if Republicans enjoyed congressional majorities and they were somehow able to pass a bill to cut Medicare and Social Security, the president would veto it and the public would be protected. So there's no real cause for concern, right? Wrong. Bloomberg government published a striking report yesterday. This was published on earlier in October, and nobody really talked about it. Sketching out GOP officials' plans to work around a veto threat and force Biden to accept cuts to the popular Social Security insurance programs. Y'all know these Republicans are some evil motherfuckers. And they will work to figure it all out. And here's the sole purpose of it. You cut Social Security and Medicare benefits, you raise the retirement age to 70. Who does that benefit? That benefits corporations. We would have to work longer. We would have to work longer for pennies on the dollar. This benefits corporations. Y'all with me? Y'all hearing me? This benefits corporations. If they cut the benefit and they increase the age for retirement, we will be working longer. We won't be able to afford to retire. Social Security and Medicare eligibility changes, spending caps, and safety network requirements are among the top priorities for key House Republicans who want to use next year's debt limit deadline to extract concessions from Democrats. The 4 Republicans interested in serving as House Budget Committee chairman in the next Congress said in interviews that next year's deadline to raise or suspend the debt ceiling is a point of leverage if their party can win control of the House in the November midterm elections. In theory, GOP lawmakers could pursue their goals through the American legislative process. They could propose cuts to Social Security and Medicare, move the bill through committee, hold a floor debate, try to make the case for their plan's merits, hope to persuade stakeholders and the public, and make an effort to pass their bill. In practice, Republicans assume correctly that the American legislative process wouldn't help them achieve their goals because their priorities are regressive and deeply unpopular. So they're settling on a new plan, circumvent their country's existing system, and get what they want by creating a hostage crisis. For those who remember what happened after the 2010 midterm elections, the rough sketch of the GOP strategy will seem familiar. Republicans will tell the White House that they'll refuse to address the debt ceiling unless Biden agrees to cut Social Security and Medicare. Y'all hearing me? Are y'all hearing me? Are y'all hearing me? If the Democratic president balks, Republicans will allow the United States to default on its obligations and crash the economy on purpose. This is, of course, precisely what a GOP-led House threatened in 2011. I remember that. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? I remember that. Y'all remember that? When an official from the Obama White House said dealing with far-right Republicans was like negotiating with people with a bomb strapped to their chest. You can find that on Rachel Maddow's blog. It was written by, what's his name? Stephen Bennett. Y'all want to go out and check it out for yourself. Make sure I ain't add nothing to it. Of course, I added to it my opinion. So when I tell you these midterms are imperative, it's imperative that you vote and that you vote blue. Do not split the ticket. There's more at stake than what has been at stake in the past. We could be all willy-nilly about midterms. We cannot this time around. We cannot. We have to encourage others to also get out and vote. And that's what my job has been for the past month and a half, where I've been talking mostly about what's going on politically. Vote straight blue. Thank you, Robin Gray. Do not split the ticket. We cannot afford to vote Democrat here and say, oh, this is a really good Republican. No, this is not the time for that. Straight blue up and down the ticket. Straight blue up and down the ticket. Do not split the vote. This is not the time for it. This is not the time for it. Again, Atlanta, Georgians, early voting ends tomorrow. Your next opportunity will be November 8th, where there's going to be long lines. Okay? The last story I want to talk about is this Clarence Thomas. I'm using all of my devices, so I can't go over and do my tweet to Clarence Thomas. Every time he's trending or Jenny Thomas is trending, I tweet out there on Twitter, resign, Clarence Thomas. You just need to resign. So when it came down to the 2020 election, Clarence Thomas was the key for Donald Trump to succeed in all of the shenanigans and all of the different scandals. Clarence Thomas was the key to them succeeding in all that they were doing. Side note, Lindsey Graham, let me know when you arrive in Atlanta so I can have a nice welcome to Georgia sign for you. Lindsey Graham has to come down to Atlanta to testify for his role and what went down with the election fraud here in Atlanta. But let's read this article. My girl Tracy Chappell shared this article with me over on Instagram. Clarence Thomas, you are their Herschel Walker. Did y'all hear the audio of Clarence Thomas talking about diversity? He doesn't understand what the term means. Clarence Thomas, if you don't understand what the term diversity means, resign. Resign now. Because if you don't understand what the term diversity means, then you are incompetent to fulfill your job duties. Resign. But let's get into this article. A lawyer for former President Donald Trump described Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas as key to Trump's plan to delay Congress's certification of President Joe Biden's victory through litigation after the 2020 election. And this is according to some emails. I think John Eastman it's relating to John Eastman. These emails were recently turned over to the House Select Committee, those who are investigating January 6th. Quote, we want to frame things so that Thomas could be the one to issue, end quote, a temporary order putting Georgia's results in doubt. Trump attorney Kenneth Cheesebro wrote in a December 31st, 2020 email adding that a favorable order from Thomas was their only chance to hold up Congress from counting electoral votes for Biden from Georgia. Clarence Thomas is compromised. And how were they going to get to Clarence Thomas? They were going to get to Clarence Thomas through his wife, Jenny Thomas. Jenny Thomas was all in this, remember? Remember her text messages and trying to stop the count in Arizona and reaching out to Mark Meadows and talking about they're all going to be on barges out in Guantanamo Bay or whatever. She was all wrapped up in the conspiracy, right? That's how they were going to get to Clarence Thomas, through his conspiracy crazed, QAnon thinking white woman, Jenny Thomas. That's how they were going to get to Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is compromised. He needs to go. The Supreme Court is illegitimate. You got Clarence Thomas. You got Amy Coney Barrett. You got, what's the rest of them? Brett Kavanaugh. What's the other one? They all lied to Congress to begin with. They're all, it's illegitimate. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Where was I? John Eastman, another attorney for Trump, responded to that email saying he agreed with the plan. He agreed with the plan. He agreed with the plan. Y'all hear me? Clarence Thomas agreed with the plan. I don't know. I got a call and now everything is flashing. I don't know what this means over here on Instagram. I don't know what that means. Y'all might have to join me over on John Eastman, and another attorney for Trump, responded to that email saying he agreed with the plan in the email exchanges with several other lawyers working on Trump's legal team. They were discussing filing a lawsuit that they hoped would result in an order that tentatively held that Biden electoral votes from Georgia were not valid because of election fraud. Having a case pending in front of the Supreme Court, Cheesebro wrote, would be enough to prevent the Senate from counting Biden's electors. Thomas would end up being the key here, Chesbro wrote, noting that Thomas is the justice assigned to dealing with emergency matters coming from the southeastern part of the country. And he did that for Lindsey Graham. but I think it was only temporary. And so now he has to come down here and testify. The email referencing Thomas was first reported by Politico. It is part of a tranche of emails the House has obtained from Eastman under an order from a court that are still subject of litigation before an appeals court. The emails were available through a link in a court filing submitted by the House committee early Wednesday. U.S. District Judge David O. Carter previously determined that the emails show evidence of potential criminal activity in Trump's efforts to reverse his electoral loss, finding the Trump team was using litigation not to obtain court relief, but to meddle with the congressional proceedings. Carter, in deciding last month that the emails should be released to the House committee, said that some of them showed evidence of obstruction of an official proceeding. Chesbro wrote in one of the newly available emails that if the legal team could just get a case pending before the Supreme Court by January 5th, ideally with something positive written by a judge or a justice, hopefully Thomas, that it was their best shot at holding up the count of a state in Congress. In a separate email, Chesbro acknowledged their plans were a long shot, putting the odds of success at the Supreme Court before the January 6th congressional certification at 1%. But he wrote, a lot can happen in the 13 days left, and having the election results of multiple states under review in the courts and in state legislatures could bolster the push to extend Congress's debate over certifying the results. The public could also come away believing the election, particularly in Wisconsin, was like rigged. This is over on CNN. Title of the article is Clarence Thomas was key to a plan to delay certification of 2020 election, Trump lawyers said in emails. There's more to the article. You guys can go on over and read it for yourself. That's all I wanted to say this morning. That's all I got. Clarence Thomas is compromised. They were going to use Jenny Thomas to get to Clarence Thomas. They were going to try to have cases pending before the Supreme Court. Jenny Thomas was going to work it from inside the house as his wife, as his lover, as his best friend and confidant. Clarence Thomas is compromised. The Supreme Court is illegitimate. Lock all of their asses up. The only way we can combat this is to get to the voting booth. We have got to get to the voting booth. That's it. That's all. And it's scary. Absolutely scary. Because based on the polls, the Republicans are winning. I don't know what there's some going back and forth on the polls that are reporting these numbers being Republican led. The only way we know for sure that Republicans don't win is if we all do our part. We all have got to get to the polls. Social Security and Medicare is at stake. Democracy is at stake. They've already said if Republicans get in, they are going to fix it so that Republicans will never lose in the future. Mhm. Mm. Okay, my people, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. The only way we can stop this is if we get more Republicans in the House and the Senate. We have to maintain what we have, and we have to add to it. That's the only way. We get enough Democrats in the House and the Senate, then we can start to get some things done. We can hold they asses accountable. All of what the House committee, the January 6th committee, has been able to do up until this point, all of that is going to go away if we don't get Democrats into the House. All of that is going to go away. And if we don't get more senators that are Democrat, we're just going to be in this deadlock again where legislation is not being passed. And they'll continue to do their sniveling, corrupt shit that holds all of us back. Aren't y'all tired? I'm tired. I am tired. Aren't you tired? I'm tired. Aren't you tired? I'm tired. On that note, thank y'all for joining me this morning for Political Talk. And before I leave, let me just put this out here. They're warning about terroristic activity taking place. It's going to get rough the next 2 weeks. It's probably going to be downright scary after voting day if the majority of Republicans don't take office. So be prepared. Be prepared, protect yourselves. Don't go up to a ballot box if you see an armed individual at that ballot box. Find another way. Don't let them stop you. Find another way. Be safe, be smart about it. These people are deranged. They are deranged. Be safe and be smart about it, but don't let them stop you from voting. All right? Thank you, Instagram. I'll talk to you later. Thank you, TikTok. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you, YouTube, home base. I'll talk to y'all later.